Welcome to Eliot Unitarian Chapel on this sparkling winter December Sunday. Whether you're with us here in the chapel or you've joined us through the internet, we're very happy that you have chosen to be with us. My name is Bob, and I have the privilege of serving as your liturgist this morning in support of Reverend Sabrina Trupia, the pastoral care associate who will be working after the church service this morning is unknown to me. Would you? Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning. I can't read name tags with this. So anyway, excuse, I wasn't given any. If you are visiting us this morning or if you are newish, we extend a special welcome. We hope this morning's message speaks to you and you find comfort and validation in this community. Eliot Unitarian Chapel is an intentionally diverse congregation striving to realize the ideal of beloved community, drawing resilience and comfort from one another, and sharing our own experience, strength, and hope. We welcome you and all people in the fullness of your lives as they are, regardless of your economic circumstances, your ethnicity, your gender expression, regardless of whom you love, regardless of where you find yourself on your faith journey. Our religion is focused not on what we believe, but on what we do. We don't have many rituals, but we do have one sacrament, drinking coffee and talking with one another after the service. You are most welcome to join us. This takes place in Adams Hall, our gathering space, which you may find by coming forward and exiting through the doors on my left and following the crowd. Again, if you are new among us, or if you just want somebody to talk to this morning, we invite you to choose a blue coffee cup, and folks will make a special effort to include you in the conversation. Our guest in the pulpit this morning is the Reverend Sabrina Trupia. Okay. They were born and lived in Italy until they were 20. Their previous career was in science, specifically in research and development, largely in the field of biotechnology. In 2020 and 2021, as you may remember, Sabrina was one of the 4 contextual interns who helped out with worship and adult RE during the COVID crisis. Sabrina received a Master of Divinity degree from Eden Seminary in 2022, and last April, they received preliminary fellowship from the UUA Ministerial Fellowship Committee. This means they are officially considered a minister by the association. Sabrina lives in Edwardsville, Illinois, with a spouse, Ed, a daughter, Isabella, and 2 adopted cats, Bo and Captain. We are delighted to welcome Sabrina Trupia to our pulpit this morning. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We light the chalice to signify that we have entered sacred space. Hear these words from a poem called For the Liminal Winter by Reverend Gretchen Haley. In these days, separated into before and after, we learn to live in the in-between, between ways of knowing and knowing held in the waiting of winter. For us, gathering like this for this hour, it is a way. Here we revel in curiosity. Here we refuse to be seduced by certainty. Here we praise the mystery. Here we give thanks for all that remains hidden in this liminal time. With this flame, we remember our promise to stay in relationship, to repair what has been broken, to do more than just survive, to insist on joy, and to lead in love. I invite you now to stand as you do and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 352. come up and talk a little bit about our fundraising campaign and lead us in the congregational covenant.
Good morning. Good morning. So before we get to the covenant, I just wanted to give a quick update on our fundraiser. As you know, we were hoping to raise $20,000 at the end of this year. We are currently at $21,900. And we still have 1 week left. So let's see how high we can get this. The ornaments. So far, 85 people have donated enough to get an ornament. That means there's still 15 up for grabs. So if you haven't already contributed, you have 1 week, and all you have to do is donate at least $100, and an ornament could be yours. For those who have already donated, we will be in Adams Hall again handing them out. So thank you to everyone who has donated. Thank you to everyone who's going to donate in the next week. Let's see how high we can get this. All right, now to the congregational covenant that is printed in your order of service. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create a beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be. To listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart. To speak responsibly and respectfully. To find ways to improve our church for all members and friends. Hi, everybody. Hello. Is this thing on?
Hi. So today I'm going to be reading the story for all ages. I want to invite any young person or young at heart to come by if you want to be in front with me. And if you don't, I need a helper to hold the book while I read it so that I can read it and talk on the microphone. Thank you. And you're going to be my helper?
Sure.
What's your name?
Fia.
Hi, Fia. So, let's sit down. All right, so this book is called The Dark, and it's by Lemony Snicket, who is a children's author. It came up about 2013, so that's 10 years ago. And it starts like this. Laszlo was afraid of the dark. This is Laszlo. The dark lived in the same house as Laszlo, in a big place with a creaky roof, smooth, cold windows, and several sets of stairs. Okay. Sometimes the dark hid in the closet. Here's the dark. Sometimes it sat behind the shower curtain. Here's the dark. But mostly, it spent time in the basement. This is the basement. All day long, the dark would wait in a distant corner, far from the squeaks and rattles of the washing machine, which was also in the basement, presumably, pressed up against some old, damp boxes in a chest of drawers nobody ever opened. At night, of course, the dark went out and spread itself against the windows and doors of Laszlo's house. But in the morning, the dark would be back in the basement where it belonged. Laszlo would peek at the dark every morning. Here he is. "Hi," he would say. "Hi, dark." Laszlo thought that if he visited the dark in the dark's room, maybe the dark wouldn't come visit him in his room. See, he's in his room. He has a flashlight, the little night light, so no dark here. But one night, it did. "Laszlo," the dark said in the dark. The voice of the dark was as creaky as the roof of the house and as smooth and cold as the windows, and even though the dark was right next to Laszlo, the voice seemed very far away. "What do you want?" said Laszlo. "I want to show you something," said the dark. "In here?" "No," said the dark. "Here," behind the curtain, the shower curtain. "No, no, no," said the dark. "Downstairs." "Downstairs?" "Yes," said the dark. In Laszlo's living room was the biggest window in the house. Laszlo looked out at all the dark outside. Above him, the roof creaked, and he closed his eyes. Now the dark was all Laszlo could see. You can try that. If you close your eyes, it's dark. "Down here," says the dark. "In the basement?" asked Laszlo. "Yes," said the dark. Laszlo had never dared come into the dark's room at night. That's pretty scary, isn't it? A little bit. "Come closer," said the dark. Laszlo came closer. "Even closer," said the dark. You might be afraid of the dark, but the dark is not afraid of you. That is why the dark is always close by. The dark peeks around the corner and waits behind the door, and you can see the dark up in the sky almost every night, gazing down at you as you gaze up at the stars. Without a creaky roof, the rain would fall on your head, on your bed, and without a smooth, cold window, you could never see outside, and without a set of stairs, you could never go into the basement where the dark spends its time. Without a closet, you would have nowhere to put your shoes, and without a shower curtain, you would splash water all over the bathroom, and without the dark, everything would be light, and you would never know if you needed a light bulb. "Bottom drawer," said the dark. "What?" "Bottom drawer," said the dark. "Open the bottom drawer." And here it is, the light bulb. "Thank you," said Laszlo. "You're welcome," said the dark. By the time Laszlo got back into bed, the dark was no longer in his room, except when he closed his eyes to go to sleep. The dark helped him to find the light bulb. The next morning, Laszlo visited the dark in the basement. "Hi," he said. "Hi, dark." The dark did not answer, but the bottom drawer was still open, so it looked like something in the corner was kind of smiling. It doesn't look like very smiley in this picture, but I can picture it in my head. The dark kept on living with Laszlo, but never bothered him again. The end. And now you can walk to your RE class.
Hi, everyone. Today is the second Sunday of Advent in the Christian calendar. And so I offer you a prayer by Cricket Hall entitled "In This Time of Waiting." In this time of waiting, may we hold the world in our hearts. In this time of waiting, may we hold each other's hands. In this time of waiting, may we be thoughtful and introspective. In this time of waiting, may we delight in the darkness and all it teaches us. In this time of waiting, may we rekindle the fires of hope, love, joy, and peace within ourselves and our communities. In this time of waiting, may we become ready for the coming day. Amen.
The meditative hymn is hymn 95 in the gray hymnal, There Is More Love Somewhere.
As you know, our shared offering for the month of December is with the organization Room at the Inn, with which Eliot Chapel has had a long and active history. We're privileged this morning to have with us Laurie Phillips, the interim director of Room at the Inn, to talk a little bit about this organization and why our support, continued support, is important.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to be with you today. First and foremost, thank you for the 30 years of support that you have provided to Room at the Inn. You are, I think, our oldest partner congregation, and I know you were definitely the most active during the time we did our night sites, and so I want to just express my sincere gratitude for everything that you have done for Room at the Inn as an organization and for our clients. We are still going strong. We are still serving the same women, children, and families in our emergency shelter in Bridgeton. And with the pandemic, we've made a change. So as you well know, we don't have night site locations anymore. We have a 24/7 shelter. We're excited that we are going to renovate our existing location starting in 2024 so that we can improve our building to accommodate larger families, to provide counseling rooms, to put better kitchen space in, and then to be able to allow access to more services. And so we're very excited about that, and we're very excited about the congregational support that we get from around the community, especially from Eliot, because you've been so longstanding with us and so caring of our clients. I'll just end today by saying one thing. I started working in homeless services about 10 years ago. I've been with a few other organizations. I've been fortunate in my life never to have found myself homeless. But one of the things I learn each and every day from talking with our clients and our client families is we are more alike than we are different. And I think that is one of the best gifts we can give to the folks that we serve, to know that we're all in this together. Thank you so much. I'm staying after, so talk to me after the service.
The offering will now be gratefully received. Will you join me in dedicating the offering with the unison words found in your order of service? For the work of the church,
Today I bring you two readings. The first one is from Hebrew Scripture, the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. You may have heard it before. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a mighty wind swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning that first day. The second reading comes to us from the Quran, chapter 25, verse 47, and it's very short. It's one verse, so I'm going to read it twice so that it percolates. It says, "And it is God who has made the night for you as clothing, and sleep as a means for rest, and has made the day a resurrection. And it is God who has made the night for you as clothing, and sleep as a means for rest, and has made the day a resurrection." Song. You might be afraid of the dark, but the dark is not afraid of you, right? We just read that. We are still afraid of the dark. I mean, metaphorically, if not literally. The dark is nearly always seen as bad, something to avoid, best left alone in the basement. Some say that the dark is scary because we don't know what's in it. We can't see what's in the dark. We may fear the sense of isolation, the cold, smooth surface, the window bringing the darkness but also separating us. This visceral fear is hard to get over, especially this time of year. 'Tis the season, friends. The first day of Hanukkah was Friday. Today, tonight will be the fourth night, and we are about 2 weeks away from Christmas. These two religious holidays are, in their form, celebrations of hope for the future. And this hope is symbolized by the metaphor of light overcoming darkness. We fear the imbalance of dark over light, an imbalance that is perhaps characteristic of Western religious thought. Because in Taoism and Buddhism, for example, light and dark are more balanced, and yet, once upon a time, we did have a more organic view of the seasons, even here in the West. The winter solstice is coming in 11 days in the Northern Hemisphere. December 21st will be the longest night and the shortest day. In earth-based traditions, this is a time for reflection, a time to appreciate the cycles of life, the return of the sun soon, while we rest under the cozy blanket of darkness, which, in the words of that verse of the Quran that I read you twice, God has provided for our rest so that we may be resurrected the next day. So this darkness is not as scary, isn't it? But we all know, don't we, that our everyday darkness still feels scary and unwanted. Well, I happen to think that darkness is not scary, that the dark itself, it's truly like a calming blanket, and I believe that the dark can contain the seeds of awe and wonder and joy. The dark might even be considered an aspect of the divine, but I didn't always believe this. I, too, like Laszlo, was a child who was afraid of the dark. Later, as an adult, I equated darkness with badness and evil. And my change into believing that darkness is not necessarily an evil thing occurred over time, and in part it had to do with my studies as a minister, where I was called to develop a theology that included darkness as a holy item. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First off, where can we find an entry point to go from fear of the dark to wonder and joy? I think one way could be through our imagination. In Laszlo's story, darkness is not only out there in the many places that are described in the basement, outside, etc., but he, and therefore we, can generate darkness when we close our eyes. Somehow, though, that darkness doesn't feel as scary to me as the darkness outside. Maybe it's because I'm used to closing my eyes and imagining things. You see, I'm an only child, and even the most well-socialized of us will spend some part of our childhoods playing by ourselves. As a child, I spent many days visualizing stories, imagining things as a form of solitary playing, which sometimes involved closing my eyes to help my imagination. I think making our own dark will help us with developing a sense of wonder and mystery. So I'm going to invite you to imagine with me. Over the course of this sermon, we're going to imagine together some scenarios to hopefully flip on its head the fear of darkness, or at the very least to try and impart wonder about the topic of darkness. We're going to use imagining as an avenue for our ideas of darkness and maybe even for our image of the divine. So let's start with science, because I was trained as a scientist and I start with what I know best, right? Science tells us that we never experience true darkness. Our eyes are made to adjust to a dark space so we can always see something. And maybe even in the darkest recesses of the universe, there seems to be always a small amount of light pollution. And science also tells us darkness is mostly good for our health. We need darkness to rest and recuperate. We know the best sleep is when the room is as dark as possible. And yes, I know. In winter, some of us suffer from seasonal affective disorders. But science tells us that this is not so much because the days are shorter and darker. It's because of our schedules and the challenge of adapting our modern lifestyles with the changing of the seasons, like our ancestors did. Thinking about the darkness in scientific terms, I remembered something. Darkness helped the evolution of our mammal ancestors a whole lot. We now know that mammals existed also when dinosaurs roamed the earth. But how did they share the earth with the dinosaurs? Because dinosaurs didn't simply roam the earth, which is already a lot. They were on top of all the ecosystems that they occupied for a whole geologic era. We're talking tens of millions of years. So let's use our imagination to see what life was like a long time ago. So if you want, you can close your eyes and imagine with me. It's 160 million years ago in the Jurassic period. It's hot and humid, and this humidity is relatively new because the climate recently changed. Most of the earth is now a luscious tropical forest, ideal for large reptiles. Think Florida times 1,000. If we look around, we see a lot of vegetation, ferns, conifers, maybe ginkgo trees. It's all mostly green because there are no flowers yet, because fruit-bearing plants haven't yet evolved. Giant insects zip around the sky, and dinosaurs of all kinds just walk, fly, and swim and slither around. It's dusk. The dinosaurs are about to go to rest for the day because they're cold-blooded animals, so they slow down when it's cooler. Once again, if you go to Florida in January and go to see the gators, they're pretty slow. So at night, under cover of darkness, these different animals come out. They are furry, sort of smallish, shrew-like things. The ancestor of all placental mammals, so including us, was called Juramea. Juramea, measuring no more than 5 inches in length, was there at home in the dark. Looks like a little mouse, a little shrew. Darkness almost literally fed and watered our tiny predecessor. Darkness made them adapt to conditions that were unfavorable to the larger reptiles. So when the extinction-sized meteorite arrived 66 million years ago, they were ready. If your eyes are still closed, you can open them now. I hope that you enjoyed this quick tour of the Jurassic, and maybe now you feel closer to our mammal ancestors. Maybe you are reflecting how, in a way, we too come from the dark. We could say we're familiar with the dark at a cellular level since antiquity. But it's not enough to know that technically we came from nocturnal animals, because the cellular level understanding always gets trumped by our gut fears. We are back where we started, remembering the lessons of our culture, which is to fear the dark. I feel like we need something more powerful than fear. Maybe faith? Can we do that? The dark has had theologically negative connotations for centuries and maybe millennia. The modern English word dark comes from a close cognate in Old English dirk, which is sometimes translated as desolate, sad, gloomy, unclear, not just dark, gloomy. desolate, sad. The language of darkness we use is rife with religious metaphors. And we use metaphors that speak of darkness almost always in a negative sense. We talk about the dark night of the soul to indicate a period in which someone goes through a faith crisis. At a minimum, the dark poses itself as a theological obstacle, which, in the words of the Apostle Paul, makes us see the truth through a glass darkly. Through a glass darkly. The metaphor we almost always use, so well worn that scarcely even we recognize it as a metaphor, is equating darkness with the absence of God and with the presence of evil. And so just as we are afraid of the dark as children, maybe we're afraid of theological darkness as adults. Well, I'm here to tell you that this fear is reductive and it's bad theology. This theology does not allow us to inquire about the full scope of the divine. In other words, it makes God or the divine, the spirit of life, the universe, too small for us. And there's something else the matter with this fear of theological darkness, something that makes it go beyond being purely a theological argument to being a tool of oppression. Because the words we use and the weight we give them, that when we equate darkness to evil, we are assigning a negative moral value to all that is dark, including the people whose skin is dark. As the Reverend Dr. Kristen Harper said in an article entitled A Theology of Darkness, continuing to associate black and dark with evil or with the absence of God has only contributed to fear, dehumanization, and violence towards black and brown people. A new relationship with blackness and darkness, theologically, should include lifting up the creation possible within the dark. The creation possible within the dark. Can imagination help us here? How can we fashion a new relationship with darkness? Let's try it. Let's imagine being on the scene at the moment of creation in Genesis. And I don't take the book of Genesis literally, but it's a nice story. The one from today's reading. And if you want, you can close your eyes, you don't have to. The point where it says the earth was a formless void and darkness covered the face of the deep while a mighty wind swept over the face of the waters. Do you see it? The darkness, the water rippling in the wind. Whatever that scene looks like in your mind's eye, there is one incontrovertible piece. The verses tell us that the dark was there already. If your eyes are closed, you go ahead, open them. It seems to me that whoever wrote this part of the book of Genesis knew instinctively that there was something holy about the darkness, to just mention it. In these verses, I hear that yes, God made the light, but God did not take away the darkness, which was already there. And there is something else, if we really think about it, in the view of the authors of Genesis. God was there with the darkness before creation. Or perhaps God is the darkness as much as God is the light. I think so, and I'm not the only one to think that. Last year, I discovered a book by a Jewish author, Toba Spitzer. It's called God is Here, Reimagining the Divine. The whole book is an encouragement to reflect on how things change when we use different and unusual metaphors for the divine. There are many ways to imagine the holy aside from king, father, or light. So perhaps we can see it as darkness too. I entitled the sermon, Joyful is the Dark. It's not a typo that it's written twice in your order of service, from the title of a hymn written by contemporary writer Brian Wren, who also wrote Bring Many Names. Some of you might know. We may sing it here sometimes. And Joyful is the Dark is going to be our closing hymn. So I really love this hymn, especially at this time of year, to remind me of the wonder and mystery that darkness can bring. The entire hymn, all the 5 verses, is a revised history of the Christian myth, all happening under cover of darkness. I like that every verse starts with, Joyful is the dark, to remind us of this refrain of the many ways that this is true in the Christian myth. So let's use our imagination to picture some of these scenes, and again, optional, closing the eyes, before we sing it in a minute or two. Joyful is the dark, holy hidden God, rolling cloud of night beyond all naming, majesty in darkness, energy of love. These first few words sound like a prayer or a poem. Powerful verses that retell that story of Genesis that I just said, emphasizing the darkness. Not every day do we hear the Holy One called the rolling cloud of night beyond all naming. My favorite verse is the second, though. Joyful is the dark, spirit of the deep, winging wildly over the world's creation, silken sheen of midnight, plumage black and bright, swooping with the beauty of a raven. Because this is a Christian hymn, this is clearly a depiction of the Holy Spirit, but it's portrayed as a deep, shiny, midnight black raven. Beautiful. Can you see the creative spirit of divine darkness? Okay, one more, because we have 3 verses we're going to sing. Verse 5. Joyful is the dark, depth of love divine, roaring, looming thundercloud of glory, holy, haunting beauty, living, loving God. Haunting beauty, looming thundercloud. The dark isn't just quietly loving us. This is the image of a divine whirlwind of love. This is how we can lift up the creation for a new relationship with darkness. This is the image of divine darkness who shows us its loving presence in everything. This is us embracing a wider imagination, a bigger curiosity that sends us wandering in unexpected places. This is a theology that uplifts all of us and holds us to the rhythm of the seasons, a theology that can bring us joy, wonder, mystery, and deep divine love, relentlessly embracing us through light and dark. May it be so. And now, won't you join me in singing closing hymn number 275, Joyful is the Dark.
And as a reminder, we're only singing verses 1, 2, and 5.
As we extinguish the flame, may the divine whirlwind embrace you, and may you feel held and lifted up by the love that surrounds you in darkness and in light, and through all the seasons of your life. Amen.